Well, looks like I picked the wrong day to give up the Nice Guys on Business podcast. That and sniffing glue. Not that there's a difference. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
You start.
Me?
Yeah.
Like always?
Yeah, like always.
Hey, Nice Guy community, welcome back. Welcome back. You know, I have headphones on. They're now plugged in. I can't hear a goddamn thing. I'm going to take them off.
You look professional.
I look good. Except I don't have my good headphones. It's these little cheapy white. My wife has my good headphones. So my name is Strickland Bonner. On the other side of the microphone, Mr. Doug Sandler. And special guests today on the other side of the mic, Mr. Casey Cornelius. And on the fourth side of the mic,
wow,
Mr. Sean Carpenter, our number one Funkin' fan.
Did we break down the fourth wall? That's not what this is?
No. Totally different. We've been doing that for a long time.
Wait till I make my movie reference today in actually yesterday's. When are we airing this?
Tomorrow, Tuesday, Thursday the 9th, the day after the election, because this is our special election coverage.
Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Today is Wednesday.
Tomorrow, Thursday.
Tomorrow is Thursday. Okay. So
we could do two today. We already did one today, but it'll be like tomorrow morning.
I'm not used to having four people in the room.
This is like a bad card game with no cards. We're all making poker faces,
right?
And there's
exactly.
no cards being dealt.
So just so we can give everybody a visual, so it's me sitting catty corner, or is this diagonal? What's catty? What is catty corner?
Is diagonal. Yeah, catty corner.
Is it? Are we in a cul-de-sac? It used to be a court in junior high school when I was growing up. Where did cul-de-sac entered into the equation?
Well, it used to be Chicago and Tampa when I was growing up, but now it's Chicagoland and Tampa Bay. What the hell?
Is that something to do because Trump took over? Is that?
I don't think it has anything to do with that, but that is definitely the subject today. And I don't think the Nice Guys community cares that much about how we're sitting in the room right now, because we're going to post a picture on Facebook anyway to show them.
We are on a big city block, and we each own a corner lot.
Right. I'm on Boardwalk and Park Place. I just won Boardwalk and Park Place. So that guy that you're hearing talk right now, that is Sean Carpenter, number one Funkin' fan. To my right, also known as my agent, is Casey Cornelius. What's up, Casey?
Utilities. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Casey, you're like the quiet one. Yesterday, I was thinking, is he sleeping? Is he actually? I know you were like
listening.
You're a very you're a good listener. It's one of those things that I guess that you learned being a faculty member at a college.
You have to work at it.
I will say, I was sitting next to Casey yesterday, and he sits and he listens, and then he leans forward and he writes something down. So I say to myself, shit, I better write it down too, because if Casey wrote it down, it must be something good.
So, Nice Guy community, just to give you a little heads up on that, we have finished up the mastermind, and it was pretty amazing. I think we all got a whole lot out of it, and we're going to be talking about that next week. We're going to have 2 episodes next week where we're going to have Casey and Sean here and go do a little bit more detail. But today is our election special, because if you hadn't heard, and maybe you haven't, Donald Trump is going to be our new president.
My wife is not happy.
It's crazy.
She basically she was watching election coverage as we were doing the mastermind, and Sean and I were in the hotel lobby at his hotel watching it on this beautiful, actually a really nice,
like an 80-inch.
Where were we? Was that a DoubleTree?
Courtyard by Marriott.
Courtyard Marriott, a huge TV, and he was enjoying the beer that they were serving him. The front desk crew actually getting a beer for him. That was nice.
That's platinum, baby.
That's VIP.
That's platinum.
He's special.
So I came into my home last night, and about an hour, maybe a little bit longer after I got home, Danielle came home, and I could automatically tell she was not happy. So I just pretended to be asleep, and I didn't really get a chance because I left early this morning to chat with her about it. But she's just said, just be safe. So I'm thinking, is it a different place?
Well, here, let's go. Let's take a couple of things. I'd like to talk about the general first, because as of this morning, we're recording this on Wednesday morning. Still got a couple of states undecided, but I made a comment to Casey earlier that, Trump has 278 Electoral College votes, and Hillary has 216, I believe. You realize that Pennsylvania, which was won by 60,000 votes, all right? Crazy. If Pennsylvania had gone Hillary, it would have been 246 to 248, and we would still be waiting. One state, 60,000 votes out of 120 million total votes. And Hillary, as of this morning, not all the votes were counted, actually won the general election. Wow. I mean, is our system broken, or is it fair with the Electoral College that, we give each state its due? I mean, I don't know the answer. It's very interesting.
I'm amazed that for the first time in history, I believe that CNN.com is actually getting more hits than porn.com right now. So, not that I would know that from any practical experience right here. But
why is that saved on your browser?
It comes up immediately. It's like, Mr. Sandler, would you like to surf your porn this morning?
Is there in-private browsing in Safari? I don't know.
Hey, I'm looking though, but the stock market, which had the futures were supposed to be down like 600 or 800 points, or down 4% or something like that last night. The stock market right now is up 70 points.
Interesting.
So I don't really know. So what's the big takeaway? So can we just maybe discuss that as an individual for a moment? Like what is the takeaway? Or you want to share like your own political beliefs, or maybe just the?
Well, there's a couple of thoughts that I had, and I was thinking about what Strickland was saying, and I think the role of Gary Johnson and Jill Stein to some degree has to be analyzed as well, right? So if you think that between them they probably took 3 or 4 million votes, I don't know the total, that probably swung the election, right? So if you think about the role that Perot played in 92, that Nader played in 2000, I think that Gary Johnson's going to, as political scientists look at this in the future, they're going to have to wonder about Gary Johnson and what role he had.
The question is, if they swung the election, did they necessarily swing it to Trump? In other words, do you feel that if the Green Party and the Libertarian Party were not part of it, that most of those would have gone to Hillary? I don't disagree. I think it's probably the case.
My gut says that most of the people who ended up voting for Johnson were people who would have voted for Sanders. That's my hunch.
So you think they probably would have voted for Hillary?
Correct. Right. Or at least the Democratic candidate.
I'm such not a political guy, and I think that Sean probably is closer to my camp when it comes to the non-politics. I don't even know what the fuck you guys are talking about. But I do know that on CNN.com, just looking at the photos of both Hillary and Trump, neither one of these is a good. Couldn't they get a good headshot? I mean, is that really all we have?
We were watching the results come in last night, and we were watching, how they color the states, red, blue, and they call some of them obviously very quickly. That Alabama goes immediately. As soon as California polls closed, they declared Hillary the winner. I mean, they hadn't even counted a single vote, but they declared Hillary the winner there. And we were watching, and it's funny if you visualize the country, the map. It was like a game of Connect Four, and we were trying to block the middle of the country from North Dakota all the way down to Texas and across to Florida, clearly red, and the two coasts blue. And it just is a interesting visual. So as of right now, recording this, Michigan and Arizona look like they haven't been called.
Yeah,
Minnesota,
right? Michigan, and New Hampshire.
Minnesota is still not called yet. That's right.
They don't now. How?
Now, New Hampshire, there's only about 40 people. Can't they just figure it out?
Well, wait. We came down to like this one guy in Maine. I think Maine has
that one
slightly different
county, right?
Yeah. No, I'm looking at
like Nebraska has a delegate area as well.
Like New Hampshire right now, total votes cast. 338,349 for Hillary, 336,193 for Trump. So basically, they are literally within 200 votes of each other, because New Hampshire is like smaller than a suburb of D.C. I mean, there's not even 1 million people in the whole state, or at least 1 million voters.
Some of these states have automatic recounts at a certain percentage too.
That's interesting.
I mean, as we're recording this, who knows what's going to be true in 6 hours? But maybe.
All right, so let's put just for a second, put the election results behind, and let's just assume that Donald Trump is the next president. What is the first thing that you think that he should take care of as a part of his office? What are the things that affect you guys the most? I mean, we're all business owners here. Are you afraid of that, or you lean into that, or do you love this idea? Hate the idea that he's in office?
Anybody who's ever listened to the show knows that I like Hillary. I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but I got to tell you, it's very interesting. I think he has an incredible opportunity, because this is a guy who has no military service. He has never even tried to run for office before, right? But he's also a guy that doesn't know the meaning of the word no, right? He doesn't give up. Now, that can be a great thing or a bad thing, depending on what he's pushing for. But, in government, he doesn't know politics. Again, that could be a really good thing, because everything gets stalled. And if he just bullies it through, you know what? Maybe this is the new face of politics. Who knows?
I think over the next 2 months before he officially takes office, Doug or Strickland, I'm going to use a movie analogy because I know you like movies, and I do this a lot of times in a leadership academy. But The Wizard of Oz comes to mind, and right now Donald has got a set of vision of what home.
Wait, if I only had a brain.
Yeah, well, hold on, stick with me here, Doug. The Wizard of Oz, and we went through this twister of an election, right? And the house has landed. And Dorothy looks around and opens up a door to a whole new world, right? And think about this for a second. She goes out in this whole new world and she has to figure out how to get home. And Trump, with his vision and his campaign, needs to figure out what that means, whether that's 1 year, 4 years down the road. What does that look like to make America great again, right? So as he's journeying to find his way home, he's going to amass a team. The first thing he has to start doing right now is amassing his team, his cabinet of people. Now think about the way Dorothy did this. Dorothy amassed a team of a scarecrow, a tin man, and a cowardly lion. And all along the way, they dealt with obstacles called the witch.
Right.
And they had to overcome those obstacles every single time using their brains, using their heart, and having the courage to do the things it took to be successful. Right. And so I think if we can take that little metaphor, he's going to have to build a team of misfits. He's going to have to build a team of unknowns to come together, probably some from the political side, some from the business sector, some from the entrepreneur world, from the business world, and figure out how do we do these things? How do we bring this vision?
I think that's one thing that he's probably done that has been good, is that he understands in corporate America how to put together a team. He's not going to be the best foreign policy guy. He's not going to be, we already know that. I mean, the building of the wall, let's see if that actually happens. But I think that he understands the importance of putting together a good management team for sure.
And, there was a montage clip of this morning on the news about all the promises that he's made over the last 6 months or so, right? And the big ones that come to mind is, first of all, I'm going to defeat ISIS. Okay, my question there is, who are they? Where are they? How are you going to do that? Second thing is, I'm going to build this big wall, right? Okay, well, who's going to pay for it, right? Third thing is, we're going to repeal Obamacare. Okay, personally, I think it's a great concept, but it certainly has some things that are wrong with it. But it already went to Congress under Obama, 4 times, and went to the Supreme Court. How is he actually going to do that? And then the last thing is, I'm going to lower taxes for everybody. How are you going to do all these things and lower taxes for everybody and pay for all this? That's the question. I think about the Irish proverb, Lord, give me the strength to, affect the things that I can, the patience to not worry about the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, it is what it is. He's in, right? So I'm hopefully done being upset about the fact that it's in. Let's see what we can do with it. I am dying to know what he's going to do.
I think the nerdy side of me also says that's not just him. We split government for a reason, checks and balances. The problem is that Congress, both Senate and the House of Representatives, are also controlled by the Republican majority. And no matter what your political affiliation is, single party control over all 3 branches is kind of a scary premise, because then, the president gets whatever they want done almost immediately. That has been one of the criticisms of Obamacare, in fact, is that it was pushed through very quickly because no one took the time to really oppose it.
But I love the idea that shit's going to get done. We go through.
But what shit?
Okay, so even if it's bad shit's going to get done. I think that until we experience what his plans are, we can't judge. I mean, we can judge him for what he's done in his past, but and hopefully some of the stuff that he has spoken is not going to become reality. But let's say that he does. Let's fuck a whole bunch of shit up, and let's come back then. And if he messes it up, let's fix it. I mean, we've given people the opportunity to fix a system that's broken. We had a huge conversation about this yesterday about healthcare. My healthcare is going up 90% in 1 year. And now I'm not blaming that on the current administration, but there's gotta be some cause and effect. Something that happened in the current administration has caused what's going on with healthcare, and what's going on with our deteriorating roads and bridges, and what's going on with the education system, and what's going on with foreign policy. And there are so many things that are problematic. Let's give somebody a chance to step in and do it a different way.
I will say one of my favorite characteristics in a good leader is decisiveness. make a decision.
Right.
Not stand around and wait for everyone to be on the same page. And so be decisive what's going to happen. And if it's wrong, then have the power to correct it and have the smarts to correct it. And I think, Strick, to your point, I think whichever candidate wins, all the way down to the local House of Representatives in the states and the city councils, there's promises made during election cycles, because that's what people do. They make promises. And no matter who what was the winner this morning, there's a pile of promises left on the trail that people are going to come back and say, I'm ready to cash that check now.
Sure.
And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I wish we could all wave a wand and say, all right, my team lost. Let's be united. When Ohio State and Michigan play, they both hate each other. But you think when the one of them wins and goes on to the championship, the other team's rooting for them as a Big Ten opponent, right? Doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
And it won't happen in this case. But I think we all want our country to be better.
Well, the thing is, too, with the country that has been described as, when somebody says, oh, we're going to turn the country around, right? The country is like an aircraft carrier. I mean, you can't turn it on a dime. And, I am excited about the idea that even with the Republican Party controlling everything, okay, so let's give them enough rope to hang themselves. Let's give them a chance because, you got 4 years, right? And I don't think that they're going to turn this aircraft carrier completely around in 4 years. But you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about some of the things, and let's give them a shot. Let's see what happens. I mean, not a lot we can do about it.
We kind of represent small business in here. Is there someone that represents or somebody that has some more information about big business, or what do you think the philosophy is about big business and Donald Trump right now?
One of the things I'm dying to know about is every time Donald was asked about his taxes, he basically said, look, I'm not releasing it, right? But of course I took everything that was offered to me. I'm a businessman and I have a responsibility to my shareholders to make as much profit as I can. So yes, if there are loopholes available in the tax law, of course I'm going to take advantage of them. But if I get to be president, I'm going to close them. I think that's a great idea. Let's see if it really happens.
I don't, a knee jerk, I don't find myself defending Trump all that often. But that idea of taking every deduction possible as a business owner, I'm okay with that. Like that doesn't bother me necessarily.
Well, people have the administration has put in place the deductions to begin with.
Sure.
It's not illegal to take the deductions, and I'll take advantage of every gray area. I mean, that's what I pay my accountant to do. I want to be able to I'm trying to work against the system. I'm trying to work against, hey, listen, it's not fair. I don't think it's fair that I'm, that whatever, all of the deductions, if they're going to give them to me, I'm going to take them. Why shouldn't I?
Yeah, I'm going to echo something I shared with you guys last night at dinner. Tom Brokaw was on sharing, I think Matt and Savannah were asking him, okay, whoever wins tonight, how do we start bringing the country together? And I just want to echo this point. It's not my point. I'm just sharing it because I think it makes a ton of sense. They said whoever wins, Hillary or Donald, they should target the things that don't have anything to do with partisan. They should go after like the roads and the bridges and the things that are going to make that affect us every single day, right? Something that's going to happen on Capitol Hill 6 months from now doesn't affect the 4 people in this room near as much as us driving our kids to school on a safe road and a bridge that's not going to collapse.
Can we do something about TSA?
Just expedite those lines, baby.
Expedite the line.
I love your whole TSA. Can you share just your TSA story for a moment?
Yeah,
because that was a good
one. We talked yesterday about brands listening to their constituents. I was traveling here for the mastermind session, and I'm TSA PreCheck, and for some reason it didn't come up on my boarding pass, and so I went to the Southwest gate before I went through TSA PreCheck, and I said, "Hey, I'm TSA PreCheck, and it's not showing up." And he's like, "Well, your number's in the system. You should be fine." I go to the TSA line. There's 2 people in the PreCheck line. There's about 75 people in the non-PreCheck line. And the guy says, nope, you got to go to the other line. So I sat there and waited, took my shoes off, took my laptop out of my bag, all the things that I've paid to not have to do. Right. And as I get through, I talk to the supervisor and say, can you tell me why I am not PreCheck today? And he says, well, I don't know. I've never heard of that, but maybe they just randomly sometimes send you through the regular line. And I'm thinking, well, that's bullshit. So I went to social media and I just tweeted out, hey, TSA, what's up? I got a contact back before I'd even boarded my plane from Ask TSA. That's pretty quick. Not even the same Twitter handle that I tweeted.
Out. Interesting.
I tweeted to TSA and Ask TSA responded back saying, we're sorry this happened. Can you give us the information? So I DM'd them my name and my known traveler ID number, and they looked into it. And by the time I landed in Baltimore, they'd figured out that my number in the system for the ticket was missing 1 digit. So maybe it was user error, but I've flown 4 times on the same airline in the last 3 weeks. and I haven't changed my profile. So it was just a glitch. Something happened. The guy at TSA's end went in and fixed it. When I got to my hotel here in Baltimore, I went into my Expedia account, my Southwest Airlines account, and it had already been updated. And it's just, I just thought it was a really great opportunity to spotlight a brand that we look at and
not known for customer service.
Not known for customer service, no.
Well, I know over the summer when they were having major issues with TSA, one of the comments the guy made was he said, well, we can't hire people fast enough. But then I heard from TSA employees that they were complaining because they were only hiring part-time people. Right now, you guys, if you've ever hired somebody, you realize it's very difficult to find somebody to work 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week and actually dedicate to you. You have to give somebody 40 hours a week. And if the TSA needs more people and the people that are working there and only working part-time, it's just crazy to me.
Now, you said they can't hire people fast enough or they can't hire fast people.
Both, apparently.
Think about this, guys. I'm amazed. Casey travels a lot. You guys both travel a lot. Sometimes just watching the inner workings of an airport is fascinating to me. Like Chicago O'Hare, massive, massive complex, miles and miles of square footage. And they have thousands of workers that have to come all the way out to O'Hare, park probably off-site, come in through a security door, work in there's not a lot of happy people flying. No. There's a portion that are excited to be going off to Vegas or to, the Cayman Islands. And there's a lot of people who are pissed off. And it's just, I do sometimes marvel at the workers, or the people that work at the Hudson News and the bartenders and the people making the sandwiches behind the scenes. Isn't that amazing, Casey? Like when you see
I think about it because it's not like they live around the corner, right? Like, because they're clearly coming from somewhere as well. I think about like Atlanta. I mean, Atlanta's a small city. The airport's a small city, and all of the teams that come together to provide those services. It's amazing to me that there's not more, unrest, that they're not yelling at customers all the time and stuff like that. Because, like you said, I never find myself happy flying through Atlanta.
So, Casey, Sean, what do you guys think about our fair city, Baltimore? Now, we didn't get to really experience a lot. Casey, you got to come from the airport to Columbia, Maryland. You kind of bypassed Baltimore, but you got a couple of Uber rides in there, I think.
Yeah, I did. No, it's been wonderful.
You had a crab cake. Wait a minute,
I had a crab cake. I had a crab cake. Wegmans, the grocery store. I'm amazed. I never thought, you could get a chicken parm sandwich and like sushi at the same time. Like I've never had that experience. No, it's been wonderful. I think it was explained to me politically yesterday as deep blue.
Yes. So Maryland is deep. Yeah. In fact, early on, we were looking at the election results, and I think it's shifted since then, but it said 78% Hillary, 18% Donald. Now it shifted a bit since then, but early on, it was like way more than any other state.
I saw a few tears this morning. I felt, it's raining today, saw a few tears this morning. So no, it's been wonderful. Obviously I'm a fan of Maryland now. The crab cakes don't suck by any stretch of the imagination. And, the things that we get, I live in Michigan, the things that we get back home just do not compare.
How about you, Sean?
I've really enjoyed it. People have been great, from the hotel, nice people at the airport, obviously, here at the facility where we're spending our day here for the mastermind. But I want to bring that to the listeners' attention. So Strickland and Doug and I went out to dinner last night. Went to the Horseshoe Casino right down near Ravens Stadium. And we walk in and all the TVs are on sports. And we asked our waitress, we said, can you put on just one of the 12 TVs on the election? We don't want sound. We just want to be able to kind of watch the map.
And this was just Nice Guy Community. This is just in the restaurant. There's hundreds of TVs throughout the entire casino. They're all sports.
They're all on ESPN Sports and things like that. So the lady says to us, we're not allowed to do that. The parent company doesn't want that to happen. Well, a couple of reasons they probably don't want it to happen. They don't want to have there be any anger or frustration. They probably don't want to pull people away from their gaming. And then so we said, all right, no big deal. It wasn't her decision. We eat dinner. All of a sudden, Doug looks up and says, hey, they put one of the TVs on the election.
Well, because we had actually asked. Somebody came by later. That was the hostess.
I don't know. I don't think it was turned because then as we started to walk back through the casino, we noticed that a number of other, I guess enough people had said, can you turn it on to CNN or something like that?
And so it's just an interesting, so there's Doug and Strick and Sean, three white guys, leaning over a craps table watching the election. Then to our right was about 6 black gentlemen leaning over the table. The guy sitting next to me was, I'm going to guess, Hispanic or Middle Eastern. And I just thought, it would be really a cool documentary to have cameras showing, if there would have been two cameras, one showing the three white guys, one showing the minorities, and then what about a sorority house? What about a church group? What about at the airport?
I love how the casino had to decide that it's more important to carry sports than the election coverage because they don't want people to get angry. How about the fact that you've just pulled $1,000 out of somebody's pocket? They lost at craps. Won't that anger them?
Or that sports somehow is less confrontational, right?
Maybe so. Maybe.
So just, it's an interesting thing. And as much like sports, you're kind of watching the results come in and there's not I'm sure there was probably, Strick, let me ask you, you're the Vegas guy. Would there have been prop bets on the election?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, totally. In Vegas? Yeah.
Was there just a straight up who's going to win?
Oh, there's tons of prop bets.
You can probably find any bets you want.
Yeah, it's like any specific state or up straight up who's going to win or how much they're going to win by. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm sure there were tons of them.
On the electoral votes, how many they're actually going to get, if the popular vote is going to outweigh the electoral. I don't even understand. I mean, I understand how it works, but Hillary Clinton could have won based upon the popular vote, but it's not.
Well, she did get the popular vote.
Every 4 years, the loser and their team stands up and says, we got to get rid of the Electoral College. And
right.
It's funny how we're going to hold on to that history.
It's crazy.
And tradition, but
in 2000, when there was the big hanging Chad and the whole Florida thing, right? I mean, Gore won the popular vote by 500,000 votes. We're not talking a couple 100,000, 500,000 votes. And at the time, everybody was like, you know what? This is the catalyst we need to get rid of the Electoral College. Here we are 16 years later, and Hillary wins the popular vote, and we still haven't gotten rid of the Electoral College.
She's up by about 160,000.
Yes. And if you think about the technology that we have today versus 2000, I mean, we talked about Uber. Car on demand. I know exactly who the driver is. I know the make and model. I'm able to see their ratings, but yet somehow we have to go to an election site to vote. I mean, there's something even interesting about
Well, it's interesting because we actually, like Uber has driverless cars. Well, we're going to have a presidentless country right now.
Just sit back. There's no wheel. Just sit back.
Nobody's actually driving this country right now. Anybody realize that?
So I don't know about anyone who could be happier than Alec Baldwin now has a spot on Saturday Night Live for the next 4 years. Yeah, he is pretty much guaranteed a spot. Doubt. I guess.
I bet when he signed on, he didn't assume that would be true either. He probably assumed that this was just a few weeks, everything would be fine. And now it's like, oh shit!
I don't think
4 more years.
Anybody thought it. I mean, I remember watching the Today Show Tuesday morning, and they are basically saying, okay, what time do you think the election is going to be called? For Hillary. They were saying, we think probably by 10:30. No, by 11:30. Well, maybe by 1 a.m. Well, not so much.
A lot of the chatter around the water coolers and the TV shows is this silent group that voted for Trump. The Hillary people were coming out of the schools and the voting places saying, I just voted for Hillary. And the people that voted for Trump didn't want to say, I just voted for Trump, because they maybe didn't want people yelling at him or getting mad at him or saying this is just who I believe in or who I don't believe in, however the vote was given. And so, as always is the case, these polls, did you guys get any phone calls asking who you're voting for? I didn't.
I have a home phone that we just don't answer. Yeah. And so we get a lot of messages and I ignore it, but I didn't get any. Well, it's funny too, when I see on my cell phone, if I see a number I don't recognize, I don't even answer anymore, Like if it's somebody important, they're going to leave me a voicemail. So I may have gotten a bunch and just ignored them. The interesting thing I saw today too, this morning they had a poll of when did you make your decision? 60% had made their decision by September, even before the any of the debates, which again, that makes sense, party lines, right? 8% made the decision in the last 2 days. Now you think about that. 8%. I mean, that swings the election.
Sean made his decision, but they actually returned his vote to him in the mail. They said, sorry, we don't believe your signature is actually your
signature. And I wanted to address that because in the room we have 3 Clinton supporters, and Sean, not to put you out, but you voted for Trump.
Yeah, that's kind of a private matter. I'm not sure that Sean is ready to discuss that.
We can cut it out of the podcast if you don't want it, but look, hey, dude, you're the winner. I'm very curious.
Censorship? Come on,
Yeah, so I got a text from my wife while I was here in Baltimore, and my absentee ballot got returned. Nothing about this. The whole reason I do absentee ballot is because I'm smart, and I say I'm not going to be in town to vote in person. I certainly would vote. I think it's a cool right that we have. I don't think it's a duty. I think it's a right that we have, and if we choose to exercise it, that's our right to choose. So I voted, and on election day in the mail comes my absentee ballot back saying your signature doesn't look right. and it doesn't match. Now, let me ask you a question. I probably signed my voter card when I was 18 years old.
Right.
That's 31 fucking years ago. What do you do still the same way you did it when you were 18?
Right.
My guess is nothing.
Sex. It's just as horrible for me now.
I wasn't 18.
That's true. I wasn't. I was 19. Sorry. There you go.
But so it's interesting. So how am I going to make that right? And, and really people are like, well, you can vote after the fact. Well, why would you vote after the fact? You already know the results.
Right.
Yeah. And unless 149,000 people are going to vote after the fact, which now people are saying I should have voted. Sure. I didn't vote, but I'm not a political guy. I'm a sports guy. I'm a music guy. I'm a storytelling guy. I get why there's politics. I just don't like to get involved in politics. People say, what's your political party? I say, you don't need politics to have a party.
Well, maybe with Trump in now, that's going to change because really he's not a political guy. He's not really a Republican. I mean, didn't he identify as Democrat 15 or 20 years ago? Yeah. And you know what? Again, I kind of applaud him for that.
Strick, I think that's part of the story. I think running on the drain the swamp, let's change this political structure that we have because it's the same old, and let's maybe change it. Now, he's obviously going to load up his team with people that are politicians, right? I've seen Newt Gingrich. I've seen, the standard old guard. But
Rudy Giuliani for Attorney General.
Yeah, he's got to bring in people who are public sector people who can say those things and do the right things. And so obviously, time will tell. The world today is still here. If you're hearing this recording, it's here tomorrow.
So I have a question for those who are listening to the recording. One of the things that occurs to me is that in all of you, I'm sure can speak to this in your own expertise. There have been a lot of relationships strained during the political process. What advice would each of you give? I feel like I'm hosting now. What advice would each of you give to sort of rekindle those relationships now that maybe have been strained? I know I have relationships that have been strained.
It's really, they've been strained. Like somebody believes so strongly that you actually like a friendship could.
Oh, Doug, last night when, after I saw the results, 2:30 in the morning, right? 2:45 in the morning, right? I went and laid down in bed and I was angry and confused and scared as hell. Now waking up in the morning, I'm thinking about it and I'm like, you know what? This is what it is.
I'm sure there are statistics on people who've been unfriended during the election season.
Yeah. And really, people, especially this election, people feel really, really strongly. Trump scares the shit out of me. Really, I think we've talked about it on the podcast before. If he says the wrong thing to some foreign leader, right? There are lots of cushions overall with things that he may try to change, right? Like he's not going to sign a bill and Obamacare is done, right? He can't do that. He's not going to overturn Roe v. Wade by signing his name. But he could make a comment that, North Korea could get upset with, or Iran could get upset with, and that's it. It's done. Right. That's what still scares me.
Right. So what would you do? So each of you have relationship expertise, and I don't just mean romantically, but let's say that you've had a friendship that has been, clearly Doug has not. No one has found Doug problematic at all. But what would you do if you've had a relationship that's been strained up to this point? Obviously, today's probably not the day. All the listeners are thinking, when would be the right time to reach back out to those?
I guess it depends on what side you're on. Is it the I told you so? Or is it, that would be like the worst thing that you possibly do is rub salt in the wound.
You realize if the election swings the other way, the other side is saying the same thing.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
It's funny how the other side is saying, we won, you lost.
Sure.
And it's just that, it's like watching a football game on Twitter. And you see Alabama talking shit to LSU and LSU talking shit to Alabama. And at the end of the game, the Alabama fans saved all the tweets from earlier in the day and kind of throw it back in their face. And it's just kind of that's just the way it works. And it is sad if there's relationship strained. I get the social media, Casey, that you're asking about. Have you hidden people? Have you unfriended people?
And the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. And, people are saying, can we get back to just now puppies and beer videos and things?
I just want to see what you had for dinner. I just want to see what you had for dinner. Okay.
Return Instagram. Make Instagram great again.
So what do you do? How do you rekindle that?
The good answer, which is not easy to do, I think, for some people, is, Sean, you make a great analogy with sports teams, right? Like LSU, I don't know college ball. LSU hates who? Who is
Alabama.
it? Alabama and LSU. They're always going to hate each other, right? Okay, we're stuck with Trump, or we're glad we have Trump for the next 4 years, right? There's nothing we can do about it. Right. Let's not make this a rivalry, right? It's like there's not going to be another game next week or the week after. It's 4 years down the road, all right? So instead of beating on each other like the way I feel that, the Republicans have done to Obama for 8 years. I mean, how long has the Republican side of Congress said, my number one duty is to get Obama out? I think your number one duty is to your constituents.
Sure.
Really,
Sure.
So we got to get away from that adversarial relationship and say, you know what, I may not agree 100% with what you're doing, but let's work together and do it the best way we can to do the best that we can and come up with a compromise.
How are we doing with time, Strick?
We're at 35 minutes, so we probably should wrap it up, I guess.
I think, Casey, you said it this morning see if I can find your post on Facebook today. You said something, but basically just says, the only thing we can control is our next actions, right? Or something like that. And I just think that's the way we approach it. Whether my friends were with her or with him, they're still my friends. They might not like 24, and I love the show 24. I'm not going to not like them because of a TV show. I'm not going to like them because of politics or they like weather or where they want a vacation. I just think that's why we're friends, is we don't have to agree on everything.
Yeah, no, in that quote, not to bring it down too much, I think it totally stole it from Stephen Covey, right? The only thing we can control is how we respond. And it's essentially the advice that I gave my daughter this morning as she woke up. She's 9 years old, woke up sad, crying, thinking about going to school and what those conversations and relationships would look like today and tomorrow. And essentially what I told her was, you should act in the way that you would hope that everyone else would have acted had you been right, had your candidate won. So the only thing that we can control is how we respond. And hopefully, my very simple thought on this is that if we're really making America great again, maybe it's kinder, maybe it's gentler, maybe it's nicer. That's how we can respond.
All right, well, I think that about wraps it up for our election edition of the Nice Guys on Business podcast. We'll do another one of these again in 4 years, maybe, if we're still around. Hey, Doug, any last final words to wrap it up?
No. Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice, as we like to say, or never underestimate the power of Trump in this particular case. Way to go, Donald. Steve O'Brien, take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. That's their story, and they're sticking to it.